Hi everyone. I want to take a moment to show you a couple more of the word problems involving distance equals rate times time. Here's a typical example of a word problem involving d equals rt. And the key is to make sure you read the problem, reread the problem, and if it helps, draw a diagram to be able to gather the key pieces of this word problem. Again, we're going to be given enough information to be able to find the missing piece. So in this case, we're told that Amy is going on a trip, and the trip there, she was able to have a rate of 72 miles per hour. And then we read on the trip back, her rate was 60 miles per hour. We still need some more information to be able to answer any of these questions. So the nice thing is they told us, if you look up here, the return trip took 6 hours. So that's a piece of the puzzle. It's really going to help us be able to determine the distance of this trip. So the fact that we're told that the time back was 6 hours. This right here gives us enough information to be able to calculate the distance. So the distance is rate times time. So in this case, it's going to be 60 times 6. The distance is going to be 360 miles. We're going to need that piece to be able to answer the question. And the question that they really want you to answer is, how long did the trip there take? So what we're trying to find then is this. But we now have enough information to be able to use D equals RT. We now know the distance traveled was 360. We know her rate there was 72 miles per hour, but we just need to now solve for the time. Looking at this, you would be able to figure out that T would have to be 5. 72 times 5 is 360. So the trip there takes 5 hours. And it should make sense. When you look at these numbers, 72 times 5, yeah, she was able to go 360 miles. On the way back, maybe there was more traffic and she could only travel at 60 miles per hour, but of course it's going to take longer to be able to travel that distance. Again, when you get an answer, make sure you check and also make sure you label properly. So in this case, the answer is 5 hours. Okay, here we have a slightly different version of a word problem involving D equals RT. Again, they're going to have to give us enough information for us to be able to find the missing piece. And so really what we're going to be looking for is how fast did Michaela travel. So we're going to be looking for a rate this time. So Michaela and Jacob left an airport and they're going in opposite directions. So I'll draw an arrow that's going to represent Michaela, and let's use a different color for Jacob. So there's Jacob. And we're told then, if you read this problem, that Jacob's rate is 70 kilometers an hour. And Michaela's, we're told that that's what we need to find. We're told that that's going to be the missing part. How fast did Michaela travel? So we're going to be finding her rate. At this point, again, without reading farther, we wouldn't be able to solve this problem, but they do tell us after 6 hours, so they give us a time, and they give us a distance that they were apart. So after 6 hours, so T is 6 hours, we're told that the distance that they were separated was 540 kilometers. Okay, so really what we know at this point is we do know the time. They each traveled 6 hours. So the time that they were from the airport on, they were each gone 6 hours. So at that point, I can calculate the distance Jacob traveled. So distance is the rate times time. We know that Jacob traveled 70 times 6, that is 420 kilometers. So that means if we do a little bit of math, a little bit of thinking, that would mean that Michaela traveled 540 minus the 420, which is going to be 120 kilometers. So we now know that the distance Michaela traveled is 120 kilometers. Again, all I did was I took, and I'll do this off to the side here, I took 540, the total distance apart, minus the distance that Jacob traveled in that 6 hours, which was 420. And when you do that little calculation, you get 120. So now we have enough information with the time being 6 to be able to solve for R. So again, it's D equals RT. The distance that Michaela traveled was 120 kilometers. The rate we do not know, but we know that she traveled for 6 hours. And based on this, evidently she hit a lot of traffic, because when you solve, you need to figure out the value of R. We can divide both sides by 6, and we're going to be able to get a speed of 20 kilometers an hour. Okay, and again, with these word problems, make sure you label them, and it should make sense. Jacob evidently took the right way home, and for 6 hours he was able to fly at 60 kilometers an hour. So he was able to take up the majority of that distance, that 540 kilometer distance that separated the two. But evidently, like I said, Michaela, she was going a safe 20 kilometers per hour. So again, there are some examples of solving some word problems. Please try these. They should make sense. Go back to the problems that we did in class. Go back to some of the warm-ups. And again, start to make sense of these word problems.